Welcome to the YAP Eat Repeat podcast. My name is Adele. I'm a social media girly who loves makeup, and this is my podcast. A couple months ago, I did have a podcast that was specifically released for Women's History Month, but I just got 2 episodes in. I'm like, oh, I'm a little exhausted. I'm a little bit burnt out, and understandably so. I was going through a lot at the time, girl. I was juggling like 2 jobs, grad school, looking for an apartment. Like, it was just way too fucking much, and I got burnt out. And I was also trying to look for a job too. Like, that's a lot for my mental, for my emotionals. But we are back just a couple months later with a new sort of rebrand. Most of my chart is air and I have a Gemini moon, so I feel like I'm changing all the fucking time. I always have a little bit of a rebrand, but it's still the same Adele. But I did want to come at it at a different perspective. So that was a little bit rude, I'm not gonna lie. But basically, I am such a huge social media girly, and I've always wanted to get into my own content creation outside of what I do professionally, because I do work in social media. And I was like, what do I want people to know me for? What is a phrase I want people to know me for? And it was initially a really hard concept for me to grasp, because again, like, as people, we have multitudes to us, so there are just so many things that we feel are important and want to capture. And it dawned on me that I am someone who really likes to mix my love for beauty and my love for beauty, my love for laughs, my love for all things fun and lighthearted, but I'm also someone who is a bit of an intellectual. Before I even got into working into social media, I was very much set on working as a professor or working in activism or politics, like as a lawyer. But I can't argue for shit. But even though my career has like shifted, activism still is a really huge part of who I want to be and the impact that I want to have on the world. And so I was like, what is a really easy way for me to encapsulate all of that in a fun, memorable way? Because even though I'm currently not in grad school right now because I need to take a break, one thing I did learn is if you really want to have successful branding, you gotta make it as simple and as memorable as possible and just keep on doing that. You know what I mean? And that's of course not to say that you can't change your brand or elevate it, but you know, there just has to be that core that stays the same. So after looking at my content, I'm like, damn, I really talk a lot, but I'm also like a baddie, like also with my takes and just who I am as a person. So that is what we have today. I'm sorry if that was not like articulated. I'm not gonna lie, I am someone who just kind of like jumps on camera and just does my little thing. But yes, Yap Eat Repeat is just an encapsulation of who I am and who I like to portray myself as online. It's just like an intellectual baddie who is a silly little goose, right? Like a silly little goose. And I feel like in 5 years from now, when we're all making fun of Gen Zers and forgetting old, that will that might age out a little bit. But Yap Eat Repeat is basically an encapsulation of me, and it's also the direction that I really want to take this podcast in. So I fell in love with podcasting in my junior year of college. I interned at a radio show, and my first project was working on a podcast, and I absolutely loved podcasting. Like, it's just, I love everything from creating the script to creating the story arc that you want to create, to finding who you have to interview, asking the questions, really delving into their lives, and then the editing process. I absolutely love editing. I love sitting down and just like getting into the nitty-gritty, cutting up all of the clips, and then having a full-on project at the end. Yap Eat Repeat is the direction that I want to take this podcast in. It's a place where intellectual baddies can come together and just have a gay old time. Of course, you know, I will still talk about very serious topics because I did major in sociology in college, and I'm still really passionate about that stuff. But I also want this to be a platform for me to just talk my shit, you know what I mean? Like, just talk my shit, have fun, and just be a silly little goose. One of my mistakes last time, aside from just being so burnt out and like not having a solid plan, is I felt like I put so much pressure on myself for this to be like an intellectual platform. And while that is an aspect of who I am, it isn't everything. And I feel like as a perfectionist, like a recovering perfectionist, I always feel like anything that I produce, especially intellectually, has to be perfect. So I wanted to break out of that mold and find just an easy way to just an easy way to talk about fun stuff and intellectual stuff at the same time. So when it comes to each and every podcast, of course, we'll go through the story, we'll talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about, and at the end of every episode, we'll have the Yap Eat Repeat section. Yap refers to like, girl, what have I been talking about? What is something that has been on my mind lately that I want to share with y'all? Eat can refer to anything really. It can be like, ooh, she ate that, boots the house down. Something that I've eaten recently that I really want to share with y'all. Because one thing about me is I'm such a foodie. I love to eat food, and I love good food, and I love putting people on to good food places as well. So that is what EAT stands for. And we have repeat. That can be a phrase that's been on repeat for me, a TV show, a song, a quote, anything like that. That would just mark the end of the podcast, and that would also provide an opportunity for guests to talk about what they've been yapping about, eating, and repeating. So speaking of the Yap Eat Repeat segment, I'm actually gonna do a test run for y'all on our first introductory episode. So something that I have been yapping about recently is getting over my fear of confrontation. I personally feel like I am in my confrontational era, and that doesn't mean that I'm like fighting people, because I'm like literally a lover, not a fighter. I am just in my confrontational era. I'm only 23, but I'm getting up there, right? I'm getting up there, and there's only just so much that I can personally take. I feel like I always had a fear of talking about how I felt or being open and confronting people. And I feel like situations that I've been in recently have really forced me to just speak up. And I still think that I'm someone who's very strategic and tries to be very diplomatic about things, but ultimately things need to be said, because if they don't, people are just gonna go around thinking that like they can just treat you like that, they can talk to you in that way, they can go about doing the things that they think they can do, and it's just not okay. And guys, I am here to report that it literally feels so liberating. Confrontation period, I still get really anxious. I'm like, ruminating about how they think about me. And one conclusion that I have come to is I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm like, guys, oh my god, this feels so amazing. Like I literally feel so liberating. Like maybe I should fight somebody. But it's getting there. No. Potentially, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm out at the club, like, oof, it gets a little bit crazy. Something that I have been eating lately, this is like a two-prong kind of thing. So the other day, me and my coworker ordered a seafood boil. I was so excited for that. I literally didn't even bring lunch. I always bring my meal prep lunch, and I just had yogurt that morning. Like, I was not really eating. So basically, like, we had ordered our seafood boil, and the guy who was delivering it didn't even call us when the instructions said to call us, and didn't even notify us that like it had been left there. He actually left it at the wrong location. And mind you, currently I am in my luteal phase, and if any of y'all know anything about ovulation, the luteal phase is like, oof, you're basically like in World War II, because it is, I'm fighting for my life out here. I feel like a ravenous wolf, okay? Like a ravenous wolf. I could eat anything. I could beat anybody up, because nobody's like, don't piss me off, basically. Don't piss me off is the motto of the luteal phase. So I'm feeling a little aggressive, right? I'm marching around the area that we work. I'm trying to find our seafood boil, because one, seafood boils are not cheap, and two, I was fucking hungry. So I did not get my seafood boil. Luckily, where I live, there are like tons of options where I can get a seafood boil. Another thing that I had eaten lately, so a few weeks ago, my friend invited me to her birthday dinner, and we went to this Filipino Vietnamese restaurant in the Lower East Side, kind of near Delancey Street, called Pig and Cow. And I forget what the name of this noodle dish is, but it's just so good. It is like, it's obviously noodles, and then it has a curry coconut creamy sauce, but it's just so good, bro. Like maybe it's because I was like, again, about to have my period, and I was just super hungry at the time, but everything ate the boobs house down. I fear, like it was so good. No, but it was so good. I think the only thing that I had an issue with was maybe the fish. I do love fish, but I hate it when you have to pick through all the bones and like you're accidentally chewing on the bone. It was just not a vibe. But everything else was so good. I love their papaya salad. Me and my boyfriend absolutely love papaya salad, so we were super hyped that they had it there as well. So if you're someone who's going to New York City for the first time, you love Vietnamese or Filipino food, or you just want some place new to try, definitely check out Pig and Cow. One thing I will say about my friend who invited me to her birthday dinner is like every single food place that she's brought me to, I've absolutely loved. Like, I've visited there multiple times, and like she just has such a great taste in food. So I definitely want to bring y'all onto something that I absolutely love too, because oh god, the food is so good. It is a little bit loud in there, but in their defense, they do play really good hip-hop and R&B music. Another thing that I've had on repeat, I feel like I've had, bro, I'm literally forgetting the songs that I've had on repeat. I've been listening to My Heart Belongs to You by Jodeci, because I just love the song. It's like, whatever you want. Da, 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 da. So that is the Yap Eat Repeat podcast. I'm gonna keep it pretty short because again, this is just an introductory episode, but I did just recently interview our first guest for the podcast, so they will be coming on very soon, and I will be releasing the episodes every single week, and we'll be talking about a bunch of different topics. I already have so many ideas that I'm super excited to talk about, and so many guests that I do want to bring on, so definitely stay tuned. Okay y'all, editor Adele here. I completely forgot to film like a well-rounded outro, but yeah, like I mentioned earlier, episodes on a weekly basis. Okay, it's literally like 4 a.m. on a Friday. Episodes on a weekly basis. I'm so excited for the episodes that are going to come out. I'm actually going to be filming another episode this Sunday, and y'all can catch this podcast on YouTube and Spotify because I'm an elitist and I like to gate. No, I'm kidding. Because I'm an elitist and I like to gatekeep. But definitely stay tuned, and I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Bye, y'all.